Good morning, everybody. March 23rd. So it's setting up right now. Give me 1 second. Let's get this party started. Pardon the voice today. You know what, let me get something else to drink here before we even begin. My throat's been scratchy. Maybe it's all the talking and screaming lately, but it's been scratchy lately. So it is probably from all the talking. But yeah, today you've got some data coming out. Honestly, I don't think the market cares anymore. I think that they're more concerned about the banking crisis, and I would focus on that too. We have to focus on what did Powell say, and why is it so important. You know, Powell's comments yesterday are absolutely significant. We're going to address it. Let me grab something to drink, and then we'll go from there. Okay, sorry guys. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about the index. So what happened yesterday on the daily? What is the issue that we have that we need to really concern ourselves with? What is so devastating to what happened to us yesterday? Well, I think that's a really good question for everybody to ask themselves. So what I'm doing here is just as a demarcation line to start. That is the 9 EMA. I'm just going to click up here. I just want to show you a couple things. So we're going to look at volume by price in the 9 EMA. So what exactly is the issue? Well, let's drill back a little bit so that we can get into a level where we're at least looking at 52 weeks of just straight futures buying. All right. And here's the larger issue with what I'm going to go over. You're sitting right at that point of control. So you are at point of control. You've gotten over it. That's the red line right here. And this is on 52 weeks. And this is all the data from that year on the S&P futures, which trades constantly. And that's why I look at the futures market more sometimes than I look at the actual index. Now, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. Okay. We're below it again. We tried to get over and we failed. Over, tests it. Over, breaks. Resistance. Tries to get over. Failure yesterday. Goes here. Does that mean that we're going to roll and go back down? Okay, here's the spoiler alert. Nobody knows, right? No one has a clue. I don't know if banks are going to have more problems, if they're not going to have more problems. The issue right now is just the sheer lack of incompetence that's going on in regards to this issue. They're just not taking it seriously. They're not coming up with a solution. And the longer that it takes, the more that people lose confidence. I rarely agree with Ackman, but the idea that the Fed has to do something is, yeah, they do. So now we know where we're at. We know what we're fighting. I think that they should come out and make a statement and just say, look, your deposits, everybody's safe for 2 years until we figure this out and go from there. All right. It's very clear what the issue is. And these banks are just completely over levered. They can be at like somewhere between 10% to 0% of capital. And they can buy bonds. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So now we have these issues that are in here, and we're sitting right in that level. All right, so let's drill into this on an hourly basis and look at exactly what happened. So if we take off all these indicators for a moment and just look at that straight move down and that sheer panic that happened right from 3 to 4, well, you know, whether or not you're going to blame Yellen, I personally don't really think it was. I think they would have done it anyway. I think they just set everybody up beautifully, quite frankly. And you can see your support level right here. So you get to that 39.66, which we've been talking about for some time, and we just bounce off that level. You know, it's always these little wonky levels that no one's paying attention to. So we come down, we test that level. That's an H. I have to work off this bar. It's that simple, right? You have to work off these bars. So you're going to come down, retest, not break it, retest, and eventually you should hopefully work that off. You do not overcome something like this in a day. It doesn't really work that way. So I would expect to trade sideways, barring any news today. I would not be a huge buyer here until I see something. You know, I'd want to get above that break. Until I get above that break and I get above that 440, right now, you just have to realize that you have an issue. So if you come here and you just very simply look at that level, you can see right in here, you have more of a range than a level. And I'm going to just drop this in right here. Should have it up here. I wish I did. Just be so much easier. So it should be under text, right? Where's that rectangle? There we go. And I do have it marked. It's just not in my thing. That's interesting. Okay. So anyway, so here's your level from roughly here to up, right? And you can see this band right in here. All right. Now, if you can see that band right in there, and you see how that's going, there's very little reason to think that you're getting through that today. This was support. We broke it. This is what I mean by those long red bars. These long red bars, when they happen, they take time. This whole long red sell-off takes a couple days to work that off. You don't just come back from that. So whether this is, out of the money options, whether it's Yellen, whether it's because it's 3 o'clock or whether it's because, there was a butterfly that moved, it's completely irrelevant. What matters is this level held, and we have to respect it. So now we know that 40.40 is our level, and that's the level that we're going to watch on the futures market. For me, the other level that I would trade off of on the long side is if I got down here. If I got into this area down here again, that would be interesting to look. Let me pull that down just a little bit. So that would be an interesting area for me to look at trading. I like that area to buy. So if I can come down here, roll, right? And these are the best trades. And hold on, let me just pull it up. It's on this actually. These are the best trades. The ones that you're here and then you rally up, right? And then after you rally up, you retest down and then you go. They're the best trades. Okay. Failed any kind of failed pattern in and of itself, any kind of failed pattern is exactly they're the best, because then you have all the people that are short here. Then they get stopped out right here, which pushes it even higher, right? That's where you want to be. So keep that in mind, but let's click off of this. So that's where we are in regards to the S&P and the futures market. And these are my two key levels. You have minor levels in here that we can address so that we're aware of them. Again, I know there's econ data. To me, it's completely irrelevant. What they need to do is just come up with a blanket statement and get it together, man. Anyway, see these levels that are in here? That's 4,000. Yeah, that's a level. Do you want to pay attention to it? Of course you do. You want to pay attention to it. You bonked on it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So of course we want to pay attention to it. It doesn't have the same substantive weight of our 39.66, in my opinion. Okay. So econ data is out. I'll cover it in a moment, but it's, again, I don't really see the overall relevance. The market hardly even moved on it. So, there's a time for data to be significant and there's a time for it not to be significant. Now, let's talk about the difference in these charts. All right. And what you're seeing are our key levels are holding. So this was the one level that before we got involved that we wanted to make sure that we were going to break. And then we broke out of that key level, right? You pulled back, you formed a little wonky flag right here. And then you broke out of that flag on a huge push. And once that push happened, well, that was really it, wasn't it? And then we just kind of kept going, getting to the next level. And then we kind of pulled back and went from there. And that's exactly what you want to see. But what this means is I need to hold this 12.8 because this is now resistance, and resistance is becoming what? Support. Well, it sure looks to me like that's becoming support, right? Now, what do I know? But that sure looks to me like support. So what does that mean for us? Well, that means that we have to understand that that is one nasty red bar, right? And that is stopping us from having a really good time. So we need to make sure that we get above this before we get goofy and get really net long. It's really that simple. Everything else should just be considered a trade until that happens. Are you going to have outliners like SMCI and some of these other names? Of course, you're going to have outliers, but this is what you want to focus on. And if you're just trading the futures markets, or you're just bonking options around, you're doing, options that are just very simply, that expire today, which I know people that do it and they do quite well, but it's very rare. You have to be fairly proficient. But you see where I'm going with this? I don't need to buy this. There's nothing to buy here. I need to test here, get above this level, and then see if I can get up here. Until then, I'm in no man's land. There's nothing for me to do here. So I really want to start there. Now, the number one name that I'm looking at today is Coin. All right. I don't want to short this now. I want this to rally, but I don't even know if I'm going to get that opportunity. This is going to get absolutely decimated. I don't know if I'm going to get back up here or not. I really don't. But the one thing that I can tell you is that this is going to get absolutely destroyed today. And the reason is that Wells notice. So about a week ago, they came out and stated that they were going to move to overseas. You're looking at an overseas exchange because they were having so many issues. And then the stock went up, and then the metaverse, and everyone's going to get a wallet because banks are going to fail. And they played it perfectly. I mean, the traders played this perfectly. It's beautiful, actually. And then you have the Supreme Court case, and they're going to get good news in the Supreme Court case. So let's just walk through what today is. Today is day one of those people that were wishing and hoping, right? Remember the people that bought up here on that court case? Okay. This is day one of them wishing and hoping, right? Now today they're coming into this, right? Suck salad. I don't know what else you would call it. But so now you have to figure out, what are you going to do? Here's your position, and what are you going to do with it? Because that's a bad day. I've been there where I'm long, and then you come in and there's some news. It's a bad day. So you have to figure out what you're going to do about it. Let me tell you what they're going to do. They're going to wait, and they're going to hope, because that's what the average person does. That's why you don't trade like an average person. They're going to wait. They're going to hope, right? And we all know what hoping and waiting gets us, right? Nothing. So if we trade up to the 76 level, I would be very interested in getting up there. 66, if I can get up to the 68, 69, that might be of interest to start. But I don't even know that I'm going to get the opportunity. I'm not the only one that knows what this Wells notice means. These things don't go away. They don't. When you get a Wells notice, that leans on the company for a long time. They may even be overseas by the time that happens. Pardon my voice. So this is what you're dealing with. We're going to watch this area. These are levels I'm watching. The number one idea that I have for today, I'm just going to tell everybody right now, it's shorting coin on rallies. And we'll be doing this in the community over and over today, I think. This is going to provide a huge opportunity today to really make some money. Now, these sell-offs provide opportunity. So one of the things that we did in the community last night, and then I'll open this up for questions after I cover Tesla, because I always get asked about Tesla. One of the things that this does is provide an opportunity. So again, these red bars that are out there and these sell-offs and these levels, right now we're really dealing with more of an area or a range. And I want to be real clear about this. These sell-offs, I love them, right? So I had a really good trade yesterday on an option that I sold in there. I might actually make a video on it because I get asked a lot to make videos on and trades, and I did one. I just think it's cheesy to show the amount that I make. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that with the system that I want to do, but I'll play with it, figure it out how to do it without showing the amount, because the amount of money you make is irrelevant. It's what's relevant is the trade. So here we are, right? And you're popping up and you're trying to get over, and then they fail, right? I love these moves because all it does is present opportunity. And that's exactly what this did. So we sold down at the very close of the day. I bought calls right here, literally at the very end of the day. You can go take if you're in the community, you'll see it. And I wish I could have gotten out sooner, but I wanted to see something. I wanted to make sure that I held a very particular level, but which I did, right? We never broke that open, did we? All right. So if you want to, this is how granular I get, guys, just to be just FYI, we never broke that open. So if I'm not breaking the open, that means that my net buyer off that open, off that gap up is still there. That person that had to get in, they're still there. Now, obviously I did very well, very fortunate, came in this morning, post and bought, and then sold around like 270 this morning on the majority of the stock. Question is, what do you do now with it? I still have calls outstanding, so I should do quite well with those today. But what do you do now? Now, you cannot rule out this trade. And let me show you why. So let's click on this because someone showed me how to do that. And if someone has tips on how to get the app on my actual computer, I'm only in my 40s, but like me working a computer seems to be the equivalent of me playing with an abacus. I got to figure out. I was trying a little bit. One of the guys in the community mentioned like, hey, get the app. The app will work better. I downloaded Google Play, but I'm still having issues. So if you have any comments on that, put it in feedback or just put it in the chat right now, because it would be very much appreciated instead of me having one of my falling down moments trying to work the computer like a Neanderthal. Anyway, you see this little bar right in here? You see where you're at? What did we just talk about? We talked about these nasty red bars and how they just wreck us, right? And you can see that right in here. And what happened? So what happened is you got coined, right? You came in and you hoped it was going to hold, right? Because you bought here, because that time it's really going to go. And then you come in and now you've got this, and then you have this gap down, and that's not an island reversal because it gapped down again. So that's just what you call a bad day and a bad trade, right? So now what do? I can laugh because I've been there before, but and you think it's the end of the world. It's not. Anyway, I got to get through here. If I can get through that level and close over this level, now that level is 272. That's our first target in the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, there's a link in description. But if you come up here and take a look, I'm at 290. Okay. I don't see how you're not getting there. I don't see how this stock's not at new highs. Now, the only thing that could hurt us is that other financial shoe that's going to drop. That could concern me, and that could hurt me a lot. And that's definitely something for me to watch. And there it is, download link. All right. Thank you, Darren. I'm all over it today. Hopefully that will help solve my issue. I appreciate that. So let's see what transpires here. I think you're crazy if you're not playing semiconductors. If you're trying to be long and you're not buying semiconductor support levels, I think you're really missing out. That is not what I wanted to see. Hold on one second, and I'll do Tesla, and I wanted to show everybody this. So this neckline has not gone away. Okay. And let's just go back to, and I would suggest that you do this. If you take nothing else away from this, guys, do yourself a huge favor. Don't look at this. This is over, right? If I looked at that when I was back here, okay, let me just show you this. If I looked at this, I have to go all the way back to 2000. That's as far as they're going to take me back. But if I had to go back to like here when we were like popping, this one won't do it for whatever reason. But if I looked at the old highs, you'd never get in. You have to go out and you have to look at a year, right? There's a reason that they use 52 weeks. People have a very short-term memory, right? So you look at that level, and I'm just going to zoom out on this so you can see the significance of that shelf, right? And this is the shelf I'm talking about, right? This volume shelf. See the significance in how this volume shelf changes here? See how small this is? So what this is this is supply, right? Supply is yellow, which is selling, and blue is demand. Look at where your demand is going out for that year. Look at that. Okay. This is where you're at right now. Now, what's going to happen when you get over and up in here? If you get over and up in here, right? This is going to move a lot faster than it did through all this. This was like getting through quicksand. You have to take everybody out that's just trying to break even and get on with their lives, right? You're not doing that right now. And what this is doing is it's presenting opportunity, right? And that's where I'm going with this. So this is one that we bought. Again, this will be in the newsletter, but this is one that we bought in the Alpha Chasers community. We paid $631 for it. We're at $660 this morning. I don't see any reason to think that this is not going to take out all-time highs. I really don't, but I don't care about that right now. My first target on all these names is to go out and look at the last 52 weeks and say, can I get up to here? And the answer is yes, I can. So if I can get up here, well, that means that I'm hitting 52-week highs. That means that my stock hits the 52-week high list. That's not the worst spot to be for a name, guys. So let's cover Tesla. We should probably cover Meta as well, and then I'll take questions. So Tesla's doing the undercarriage thing, and I do think that you can rally on the whole selling of the undercarriage. You're just going to have to watch this bar. I'd watch the 190, 191 level in that area and then go from there. If and a big if. You get over 203/4, you're going to rip. If you can get over that 203/4 today, if you can have a reversal bar here, you'll absolutely rip. I don't think you're getting the reversal bar, but if you did, that would be huge. Meta is finally getting it. They are becoming the cost-cutting company. The one thing that you have to like about Zuck is that he actually does get it after he's hit over the head with a frying pan a couple times. So, instead of just trying to like copy everyone's ideas, if he's rewarded, he follows that. So he was rewarded for laying people off. So now once a week, we're getting layoff notices, which means that's what he's going to keep doing, which means it's actually, as sad as it is for people to lose their job, it's actually great for the company that they're laying these people off because it's all bottom line. They're just getting rid of people. And maybe it has to do with Twitter and how he's doing it, and they want to be like Elon, but they're just becoming lean and mean. And that's what you want to see from a company like Meta. Get rid of the bloat. Get rid of the complete bloat of the company. And that's exactly what they're doing. So I like this as well. I'll take some questions, and then we can kind of go from there. So, what's up, John? Yeah, I think that you have to look at some things. So the SMCI is pretty overextended. I think if you're looking NASDAQ over, I can't buy that, right? That's not my kind of trade. It looks like it's going to rip. It's too overextended. It's too thin of a name for me. I'll be the last one holding the bag on that. I would tell you to focus on the NASDAQ. Now, if you just look at this very simple equation, okay, you're going to note something. So all this is just relative performance, right? So, and let's just get rid of this for a moment. And let's go here. All right, so we're going to put this out. Now, here's where we're at, right? So we can see this level. And what is this telling us? Well, this is telling us NASDAQ relative performance over the SPY. Well, that's pretty interesting, right? And then you just start drilling into this. Okay. So this is a DTL downward trend line. Look what we broke. When did this happen? Well, this happened back in November. So let me get this straight. The downward trend line of the underperformance of the NASDAQ has changed starting when? January 2023. That's interesting. Interesting timing, right? Now, to put this chart in perspective, so you get it, all right? NASDAQ always outperforms when the market's going higher. NASDAQ always outperforms when the market's going higher. When the markets are going lower or getting weaker, the SPY will always outperform, okay? Just like here, right? You had the huge run in the NASDAQ, the absolute collapse of the NASDAQ versus the S&P on a relative basis. And then from 03 on, right? And then you had your little breakdown. But even through this financial crisis, you had your pullback, but this is what you're dealing with now. So this is pretty significant stuff. And I would not rule this out. This is definitely something that I monitor and I want to be on the right side of. Now, I will say something about this chart. And this is more than just pre-market, but just giving you a sense of what's going on out there, John. See that level? Okay, so you're on a neckline, right? You have to make a decision, right? So the confirm of a DTL break is actually getting above the previous high. So if I can get above this previous high and hold above that previous high, you have a market. You have a market that's about to pretty much rip people's faces off, in my opinion. So if that happens, and because everybody's on the wrong side, everybody's just waiting for the next global financial crisis, and it's not going to come. You can just, the bond market's telling you it's not coming. So I can get into that later. But OLLI, let's take a look at that. That's not my kind of trade. I can just tell by looking at the weekly. I definitely wouldn't be going anywhere near that. Opens up. Everybody can't wait to get out on earnings day. I would have zero interest in that. Zero, John. Hope that's helpful. Look at the daily of 1819, acted similarly, then rallied. Go look at 1998, September 9th, Tudor. Go look at 1998. I don't have time to go through it right now. September 1998 during the Russian embargo. And go look at what they did with interest rates. This is when Russia defaulted on their debt. Go look at that period in time and go look at exactly what's going on right now. Go look at February 1995. and go look at what happened when Greenspan raised rates for the last time before it had to cut them. Those two areas to me are exactly what's going on. I mean, exactly. They are the best comparisons that I could possibly give you. Like there's nothing even close to those particular periods of time that look like this. Everyone's saying, oh, this is like 08, 09. It's nothing like 08, 09. Absolutely nothing. Okay? Your banks are so strong and so sound on the big bank side. It's incredible. And they're not going anywhere, and they're not. I did a whole video on this, and for those that are watching it, I'll do it again tonight. So watch tonight's video, but I'll show the investment grade spread yield, and I'll explain it in great detail. But look, if the sky is falling, okay, this is real simple back envelope kind of stuff, right? If the sky is falling, high yield would collapse. They would be selling high yield. Okay, they are not selling high yield. All right. They are not selling high yield. This was the pandemic. We're not getting there, right? So you start going through these periods in time. This is the global financial crisis. Okay, they're not selling it, right? You're already there. So you have to think about it from where you're at, right? Every time is different, but to me, this is that February 95 to the Russian embargo. You had, and the Russian embargo is interesting because you had an event, and then that event triggered an 18-month bull run, and nobody knew that bull run was coming. They all were waiting for the end of the world. NVIDIA closed green. NVIDIA closed green. What's up, Ant? I don't know if we sell down the next 2 days, Ant. I really don't. So there's NVIDIA. Is that, what did you just ask me about? I got NVIDIA on the brain. You asked me about snow. All right. It's going to be time for a little more coffee. I wouldn't go near that. So if 50% of the stocks roughly are above the 200-day moving average, why are you buying the underperformers? Because this time it's really going to go? Like, why even bother? You can be pulling 5 or 10 points out of NVIDIA. Why would I even play with this? Unless I have some like deep passion for the company. You're just basing, man. Lower highs, highest price to sales ratio out there. Corporations start cutting costs based upon what's going on out there. It's going to be pretty fascinating. Let's take a look at that NVIDIA. Oh, that's nice. So it keeps working. So did I mention NVIDIA? DUOLSQSP. Move lower into the close, quite impressive. Let's take a look. That's a nice looking chart. That's a really nice looking chart, man. So there's your year, right? Yeah, that's just beautiful. Look at your setup. So now I've got my year base. Say it. Well, I'm sure you say it. You brought it to my attention. I appreciate that. I like this a lot. Couldn't make that low. Earnings, bad earnings. So maybe they did some kind of write-off, or I'd be curious as to why they lost, the estimate, and why they're down and why they're up. I might actually read this report because all you had was straight buying. So look at my volume and look at the buying that came in after an earnings miss. So maybe they took some kind of write-off, put something behind them. I would not rule this out. I think this looks great. It's a really nice idea. I like that, Maxime. I do. DUOL. But just a monster. I can't go near that. Yeah, I can't go near that name. You just rallied way too much. Way too much for me to go near that. That's not something that I can really play with. Let me just see what Coin's doing. They're not even going to give me a chance here, I don't think. This is going to sell straight down. Hopefully they cover, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work that way for me. I don't know. I have no idea if we sell down for the next 2 days. I'm trying to get through the first hour, man. for if you want predictions, this is the wrong, like, and you know me, but hopefully you know me by now. Like, if you're looking for predictions, you're in the wrong room. I got so lucky in that drop yesterday on coin. I was put bearish. That's awesome, Silver. Congrats. Hey, lucky. Well, that's the beauty. You get the outliers, right? And they make the predictions. So what call did you buy? What did I buy? The 65s and probably what the 70s as a kicker. I got it in at the last minute in the room, and I hate to do that. Like, I hate to drop them that fast, but no, that's what I bought. I bought the 260s for March 31st is what I'm in. I'm in the 265s and I'm in the 270s. 260s for March 31st, I'll probably just sit with. I don't really think I'll do much there. So, but the alert I put out was the 260s from March 31, but I bought all three. I'll tend to do that. Yes, it did make a dragonfly. Yesterday, it made a dragonfly, and it didn't break the dragonfly, and it closed above the open. Yeah, I can see them going after Square. I actually think that whole business model is going to just completely and utterly implode. Look, I'm going to just say this, that when this Stripe comes out and they go public, you're going to have the opportunity to short like coin when coin was at 400. Okay, same thing with Rivian at 100. Like, they're going to shove this thing down retail's throat, and it's going to be one of the greatest shorting opportunities. I have a hard time shorting Hindenburg because they short before they put out their reports, right? So there's two levels to Hindenburg. So they'll sell their research to institutions. They'll say they won't, but they do. And then they put out these reports, and then the institutions sell into retail, and retail gets involved. Doesn't mean that they're wrong on the report, but I just don't like that from a business standpoint. So what I would do is I'll probably read the report. Some of the reports are pretty good. Some of them, not so much. But that's like anything else. Some of my trades are great. Some of my trades are awful, right? So I probably really shouldn't judge them for that. I mean, we all do that. But looking at something like this, I don't know. I'd watch that level. I wouldn't be out there shorting that right now. I wouldn't. So when I ran a fund, I had a guy like this where I forget what the name of his company was. It was like Short Wall Street or Wall Street Shorts, but they did excellent work, and you'd get in these moves ahead of time and you'd see them absolutely collapse. So, and they would work. They would really, really work. And it's pretty substantive stuff to get ahead of. So keep that in mind. I like it. I like it as a short idea. I think they're right. I think that these merchant credit companies, all these margins are going to come down, and they should. So I think they will. They're not like a real merchant. They actually sell someone else's products. So they should be a real merchant if they're going to position themselves as one. And same thing with Stripe. So that could absolutely get crushed, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know, Cam. You got a lot of moving parts here, right? So are they going to crack that? Is that going to break that 200? Or is the market going to go down and that's going to come in? Right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you want to be doing that or not. Yeah, I don't know that I'd be shorting that. I'd probably watch how it acts on that 200. I could put in the that's not the one I want. Is that the one I want? Hold on one second. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, obviously. And every time you're getting near it, look what's happening. Why would you be selling these names if, yeah, you have an issue here. Yeah, Kim, you have an issue. You're 100% right. Say it. You're right. You have an issue here. I'd want some kind of confirmation. It's a very simple trade if you want to short, because all you do is you're using that 200, a close above the 200 as a stop, which is right along where your support line is. So I could see this, Cam. I don't know. It's not my kind of short, but it could definitely work. I could definitely at least come back down to here and give you a nice little cushion. There's no doubt about that. I saw that. Thanks. Yeah, that Apple. Yep, let's go over it. Sitting at CMA. What's my view? I would not. Sitting at CMA. What's your view? My view is that I have no idea what's going on there, but I look at the company and I see buying, and I saw a beautiful chart the other day, and then they cracked my beautiful chart yesterday. So that's my view. Here's my view on all these, right? If you have a doji like this and you're unable to get over that doji, you have uncertainty. No one knows which way this goes. If you're in this and it hasn't gone the way that you want it to go, you have to ask yourself some serious questions. Like, do you know enough about the bank, right? Are you aware of everything? Like, there's a lot of moving parts to this. I'm going to give you two examples. I'm going to have to go here. So FRC is one that I was really into because I really liked that the CEO was coming out and saying, look, we have problems. I mean, this was the CEO that day. Hey, we have problems, guys. We're telling you we have problems. Like, they came out, not like an SIVB or Signature Bank where they're hiding it. They came out and said, if we get a run on deposits, we have a huge problem. Now, come down, rallies. Friday, they're supposed to come out with data. Oh, we're going to do a capital raise. Okay, problem solved. They're going to do a capital raise. Credit Suisse is going to get bought. Oh, problem's over. Nobody wants to give them money. So nobody wants to buy assets. What are we doing? So there's something here that I was wrong about, right? So now I've had a short position and puts on this for some time. And I did a trade here. And the trade worked for like a day, right? It literally worked for one day where these preferred started trading up. And then it just came out that they had more problems. And then that was it. And then I got stopped out of that, right? So because these can go completely away, you can go to zero. And I'd rather play the preferreds here than play the common. Now, fast forward and you start looking at like PACW, and this all ties to CMA, and this is where I'm going with it. So if you look at PACW, they issued a statement last week showing that they have $10 billion to cover all their lost loans, right? Then they show that they have $11 billion to cover. So you start looking at this and going, well, the picture's getting better and you're selling the stock down because they're refusing to do a capital raise. Okay. And what that did was provide an opportunity for me and for us in the room, because I just went and looked at the preferred, and we got in the preferred around $12, traded up to 16, which if you were a short-term trader, I said take. And if you were a long-term, just trim. And now you're bonking around in here. And now I'm making about 50. Well, from where we're in, I'm making about 17% interest while they're trying to figure it out. So I like the preferreds more. I don't know if CMA has preferreds. Here's rule of thumb on these types of trades. Unless you know as much as you possibly can, you do not add to these names as they pull back. You add to them as they're getting stronger and as their stories get stronger. If you're adding to them as sure, go to town. So as they get stronger, right, you add to them. You don't add to them as they're getting weaker, right? I'll give you one more that I've been watching and that we have a position in and that I do like. I like the Schwab. We got in at 54 3/4. It hit 60 4 times and it can't break. And we've been watching it in the community over and over again. We've been watching it do this. And they keep coming out with good news. And I'm a huge Charles Schwab fan, like really big fan. Guy built the company from nothing. Huge success story. Forget these lines. And I keep bonking right against this resistance point, right? Long red, nasty bars down, right? So I keep bonking on 60. I'm unable to get above it, right? Bonk, 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 bonk. So do I want to add to it when it's down here? Maybe for a trade, but I have to be cognizant that I can't get through 60. So maybe there's something that I don't know. And that's how you have to view these. So if I'm unable to get through this level, 48.5, maybe there's something that you don't know, or maybe there's something we don't know about the entire sector. And maybe it's the fact that FRC is going to crack and that we have to wait for that. So I hope that helps. That's how you have to look at it, Darwin, but you don't just keep adding on the way down. Tudor, additionally, by 18. You know what? You start saying 18, 19, you start talking my language, even though like I'm a very active trader. I do look very long-term at things. Uh, yeah, it's similar to that, but I don't know. I don't know. You're welcome, Darwin. Be safe out there. They can look, man. Wrong loan, wrong thing. They can go to zero. Yeah, they did a private placement, I believe. Likely played downside for market week. I think that you're there on that. I think that you're in a good spot there on Nike. I'm shocked at how negative that report went, but my God, they couldn't get out of Nike fast enough, could they? So it is what it is. All right, I got to jump. I got to hop in the room. Trade to win today, guys.